To start this activity, we are going to make a 4-inch square. So if you remember from our previous lessons, we use our ruler to line it up to make straight lines. So I'm going to use the edge of my ruler, line it up with the edge of my paper, and I'm going to draw a 4-inch square. Now my paper, I cut it in half. I didn't cut it in half very even, so that's why it's crooked at the top. But I'm going to make my 4-inch line. So 2 to 6, that's 4 inches. And I'm going to turn it this way because that is the straight part of my paper. And I'm going to line it up there, line it up on this point. And then just draw a guideline. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now I'm going to measure my 4 inches. I'm going to connect my 2 guide marks. So now I have my 4-inch square. Now I am going to draw a diagonal down the middle of my square. So I have a diagonal line cutting my square into 2 halves. And along the top, I am going to measure and put a little mark every 1/4 of an inch across. And we are going to do this on all 4 sides. Your square should look like this when you've finished marking all of your 1/4 inch measurements along each of the 4 sides. We're going to turn it with our diagonal starting in the upper left-hand corner, and we are going to make diagonal lines connecting each of our 1/4 inch marks on this line and on the top line. So I'm going to put my pencil here, connect my ruler to this top 1/4 inch mark, and make my line, move it up, and do the same thing all the way across my upper half of the square. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you are matching point to point, because if you get off and you come up here on accident, that's going to make, and I'll show you, I'm going to do it, and I'll erase it. So it's going to make your line crooked. So if you do that, go ahead and erase. That's okay, because sometimes it happens. Just erase your line. That's why we need to do them kind of light. And again, I'm doing mine dark enough so that you can see them in the camera, but you do yours lighter. And just make sure that you're connecting the right point to the right point all the way across. And then when you get to the end, you will have half of the square that looks like that. Then you're going to turn it over and you're going to put this one, your empty space is going to be to the right, and you're going to start working your way from the upper left across to your right side. So once your square looks like this and you've finished all of your diagonal lines, we are going to start tracing our lines with a Sharpie. For this part, I like having the ultra fine tip point marker. It just makes your lines easier to trace. When we go to color them in a minute, we will use the thicker one that's just the fine point. So let's start. We're just going to trace our lines. And I like to start on one side and work my way across. So just trace all of your diagonals. After you've traced all of your lines with your fine, ultra fine tip Sharpie, we're going to create our pattern with our fine point Sharpie. So we're just going to come in and we're going to go every other one. And what I like to do to make sure I'm doing it right is I like to put a little mark. So I'm going to do this one, skip one, do that one, skip one, that one, skip one. And I like to go ahead and just mark every other one so that when I go to actually fill them in all the way, I know exactly which ones to fill in with my black. And if I accidentally mess up, then it'll just be one little mark instead of an entire row filled in with the black Sharpie. Just like tracing the lines with our pencil, we're drawing the lines with our pencil first before we use our black Sharpie. That way, if we get them off and they're not at the right points or they're, you know, crooked or whatever, we can erase them and redraw them. That way we don't, if we mess up, it's easier to fix the mistake. So then you're just going to trace the outside lines and fill it in. Now once you're finished filling in each of these stripes, then you can go back and trace the entire thing if you would like. So go ahead and color in all of your stripes. If you want to use a ruler to go ahead and trace your lines, that's fine. If you want to wait till the very end to make it nice and clean all the way, you can do that as well. Now that I've finished my pattern, I trimmed out my square, and I can cut the square out now if I'd like to. I can also add color. So if you want to add color, do another pattern, you can do just a single color, or you could do, you know, color every other one. That's up to you, just to give you a little bit more than just the black and white. But this square like this is the warm-up. It will get us started and prepare our thinking for the larger project that we're going to do in just a little bit. This is also going to be what you're going to do if you choose to do the challenge project. You are going to make 3 more of these using different colors and then cut them out and then rotate them and change them to create a larger square and see what changing the pattern does, if you can. So that's your warm-up, and that's how you're going to do your challenge project if you choose to. And if not, then whenever you are ready to watch the video for your final project for this week, go ahead.